What's up, you guys? It's Robert with the Wrestling Apologist, and in today's video, I'm gonna give my thoughts about AEW Redemption. Redemption's taking place tomorrow, July 26th, on pay-per-view, and this is an interesting event because I feel like there's a lot of discussion around whether or not this is a big show or if it's just kind of an elevated episode of weekly TV. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about my own perspectives, the conversations that I have with friends about this sort of thing, while quickly breaking down the card as well. Now, it'll start with the buy-in around 6 Eastern, and one of the features of the buy-in is going to be a celebration of the Rougeau family dynasty. And I don't know how many of the AEW fan base really know the Rougeau family. I personally know them, and I think a lot of people do for like their time in WWE with, Jacques and Raymond with Jimmy Hart, and then Jacques later as a Mountie, and then as a Quebecer with PCO. I think it's fun that Tony Khan gets to say that he presents stuff like this. I view this in the same vein as the Antonio Inoki celebrations, a part of Wrestle Dream. This is fine. It'll be cool to see the Rougeaus, but largely, I think a lot of people are looking at the main card and saying, is this worth it? Is this just a stopgap on the way to all? I'm of the opinion that while this is somewhat of a stopgap pay-per-view event, we are very fortunate that the weekly quality of Dynamite is so strong that a card that features John Moxley and Will Ospreay against the Young Bucks or Kyle Fletcher and Bandito can just sort of be seen as like, yeah, that's just a weekly TV show. Because we used to have this all the time in the Attitude Era, but I think a lot of people were tuning into the pay-per-views for more clean finishes and actual results. In AEW, you don't really have screwed up finishes like that. It's all largely pin him in the ring, 1, 2, 3. So even though this does feel like it's not the strongest card, it's still an out of this world in ring show on paper. That being said, I know that sometimes you want a little more than just good match, good match, good match, good match. But AEW is wrestling first, and this is going to be a huge test of that philosophy as we're also seeing how it balances out adding more pay-per-views. Because in the beginning, the benefit of AEW pay-per-views was they're quarterly, they do the big four, the tentpole events, and then you just have to focus on TV. More and more, they've increased, and it kind of is reminiscent of the traditional WWE calendar of just almost a pay-per-view every month. So it'll be interesting to see how much the quality of the wrestling can combat the potential fatigue that comes with doing more pay-per-views a year. Okay, the first match I want to talk about is going to be the match for the AEW National Championship between Mark Davis and Andrade. And to put it simply, I think Andrade is the most over he's ever been. I love this character. I think he's found himself both in the way he's presented, the attire, all of it. It seems to really be clicking right now. He's got a really over catchphrase with how you know, and he's a great national champion. He can go defend this title in CMLL and United Kingdom promotions and New Japan. I would like to see Tony Khan address the hierarchy of his championships. I know there's a belief that any title can main event any show, and it's hard to really label a championship a tertiary prize. You know, like the European Championship didn't just start out as this is our opener championship. But I'd like to see where his mindset is with all of the different titles he has, because there are quite a few, but it also just depends on how they're utilized. And I think the number of championships in AEW can be viewed as a positive if they are all booked correctly. But yeah, I think Andrade is going to win this match. I think he could be setting up for a showdown with MJF in Wembley, but we'll see. Should be a really good match. Mark Davis has been a joy to watch as a single, which I was really happy about because for a while it felt like he was going to get Janetti'd compared to Fletcher. But now they're both thriving as singles, and that's awesome to see. Okay, the next match I want to talk about is for the TBS Championship. It's Sheeta defending against Maya World. I don't think Maya World is going to win here. I think they're setting her up to potentially dethrone Athena really soon. But at the same time, I look at this and say, you've got a chance to create a new star in Maya World. Why wouldn't you just do that? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you just strap the rocket to her and have her beat Sheeta here? I think she'll put up another really good showing like she did against Mercedes last month, but I think Sheeta will get the win, and she's likely to go on to feud more with Statlander and continue to carry the TBS championship. Overall, I'm just happy to see both of these women on the card, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next step in Maya World's evolution as she's kind of become the breakout star of AEW this year. All right, next we have a match that I think is amazing for me. This isn't like the main event match, but this is the kind of match that I would book, and I'm really looking forward to the Bang Bang Gangs, Jay White and Juice Robinson against the Dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors. It's a double chain match, and I love chain matches, dog collar matches, that kind of like old school. We're tied together. It's gonna get violent. I am a huge fan of Jay White. I think there was a time where I thought he would be skyrocketed to the AEW World Title. I've become such a big fan of Finley. I think Juice Robinson is a really good, frantic character, and I think he's a lot of fun to watch. The Jay White and Juice Robinson had one of the best TV tag team matches I've ever seen when they wrestled FTR on Collision all those years ago. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm hoping it gets bloody. I'm hoping it's violent. But I do expect the Bang Bang Gang to get the win here as it's Jay White's first match back on pay per view. Next, we have another match that was recently announced. It's a ladder match to determine the top challenger for the AEW International Championship. And I'll just go ahead and lump this in here. Kyle Fletcher is defending the international title on this card against Bandito. I think Fletcher's going to win. I could see a world where maybe he doesn't because Bandito is such a popular star and such a great wrestler, but I think Fletcher wins here. And I think the ladder match might go to Jack Perry. And then you get like a Jack Perry versus Fletcher on a Dynamite because I think All In is going to either be Fletcher to Takeshita again or potentially Fletcher to Takeshita Okada. I don't want the latter because I want Okada to start focusing on the world title. And I think the best way to do that is to put him in the Casino Gauntlet that'll take place in Wembley. But I think Fletcher needs to retain here. Jack Perry is going to wrestle Beast Mordos, Komandar, Mike Bailey, Nick Wayne, and El Clone. And this should be a really fun high flying match. And I'm really excited to see what they do, especially because I wasn't expecting a ladder match, let alone a 6-way ladder, to be on this card. But ultimately, I do think Perry has to win. If I had to pick up background or a backup pick, rather, I would say Mike Bailey because they are in Montreal. He has been doing media. This could be a great way to get him into a singles title picture. I'm just a big fan of all the guys in this match. It's great to see Nick Wayne back on pay-per-view. Really looking forward to seeing what they do with the ladder match. All right, next match I want to talk about is Painmaker Chris Jericho against Ciampa. I was once Chris Jericho was on my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, and there's a time where I think Chris Jericho was the best in the world. About 10 years ago, a little less than because 10 years ago he arrived in NXT, but we're almost a decade removed from Ciampa being one of the best characters in the world. I think if this match was taking place in 2019, it would be a major dream match. But in 2026, being the second match in a rivalry, it feels very. It feels very bland, but that's because people. I think people just are still facing Chris Jericho fatigue and they want him to sort of move on. I think it'll be as good as Jericho can do in 2026. I think Champa has been on a great run this year, including his time in WWE, where he was having banger matches with Dragunov for the U.S. title right before he departed. So it should be a fun match. You got the Painmaker gimmick going in. You got the no holds barred stip for them to do a little extra. I'm looking forward to it. I think Jericho has to win because Ciampa won the first one, but we'll see. Next, I'm going to talk about Cage and Cope, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, defending the AEW World Tag Team titles against the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli and Pac. And this match, to me, should be a lot of fun. Copeland is my favorite wrestler ever. Christian Cage has only gotten better with age. Claudio's never bad. Pac is never bad. So the problem with this match is I think everyone expects it to be Cope and Cage go over, and then on Wednesday they do open challenge match, and the Motor City Machine Guns answer because they're going to be in Detroit, and that's how you announce the Machine Guns are all elite, with them having a dream match against Edge and Christian. I don't want to sweep this match under the rug because I want to acknowledge that Cage and Cope have both retired before. Their days are not plentiful, I'm sure, and I want to enjoy everything that they're giving to the audience. But this is one of those situations where it's hard to get super invested when you don't feel like the titles are in any great jeopardy. Speaking of the titles not being in any great jeopardy, I'm going to jump right to what's likely the main event of the show. Kenny Omega defending against TNT champion Kevin Knight in a match for the AEW World Championship. It's no secret. Omega was probably supposed to win the title here from Maxwell Jacob Friedman. They did that on TV instead. So now you get this match. And the benefit of this match is going to be Kevin Knight elevating to a new level as he gets in the ring with Kenny Omega, who's undoubtedly the best of his generation and one of, if not the greatest wrestlers of the last 30 years. You know, I expect great things from Kevin Knight, but this match is going to set the pace for that. I think similarly to how Kyle Fletcher was really put to the test against Ospreay at Revolution last year, and Hangman Adam Page at All In or at All Out last year. I expect Kevin Knight to show up and show out, but there's zero jeopardy. Kenny Omega has to win because we're going towards Ospreay Omega at Wembley Stadium. Next, I want to talk about the match for the AEW Women's World Championship, Willow Nightingale against Tekla. Now, the winner of this match is going to defend the title against Mercedes Moné at Wembley Stadium. They've done a great job of teasing tension between all three women. So it's not like, oh, well, Mercedes definitely needs to fight Willow. But I ultimately do think Willow Nightingale is going to win the title here and defend against Mercedes in Wembley Stadium. Willow and Mercedes have a great rivalry. They are, I think, 1-1 with Willow beating Mercedes for the TBS championship after Mercedes had beaten her to win the title in her first in-ring title shot in AEW. But I think going into Wembley, you've got to crown Mercedes. I think it's time for Mercedes to be the top woman in AEW. She's already proven that she can give back to wrestling. She's already proven that, she can be the best in New Japan or on the Indies. I think it's time to build the AEW women's division around her, and I think it's time to really kick the division into high gear and start giving women more time, more grudge matches on pay per view. They don't just need to be in championship matches. I'd like to see that division grow in the same way that Mercedes helped the WWE women's division grow 10 years ago. But to get there, I think Willow needs to beat Tekla in order to be the champion and have the third match with Mercedes that she needs to have. I think Tekla loses almost nothing by losing the title here because I still think she'll be in a major position in Wembley. I think Tony Khan has made it a secret. He wants to keep her as a pillar of the women's division. He's called her, one of the new pillars of the company overall. And Tekla's a fun character, man. But I think it's Willow's night, and that's well deserved because Willow is not only one of the best wrestlers in the world, but a really good company spokesperson for AEW, and it's going to be a fun road to Wembley. But the last match to talk about is the Death Riders, Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay against the Young Bucks, Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson. The reason I saved this particular match for the end is because I think there's the most uncertainty going into Wembley around Moxley and Ospreay. For the Jacksons, it seems like they're building up towards an Ultimate Dream match against Cope and Cage. But for Moxley and Ospreay, while we know where Ospreay is going, Moxley's been doing this gimmick where he's like the devil on everybody's shoulder. He's fronting this heel stable, but he's also one of the biggest baby faces in the company right now. He needs a challenger for Wembley. I think that might end up being Hangman Adam Page. I think you could see some of that play out here. Page is one of the elite. You've got either way. This is going to be a great match. This is going to lead into the Young Bucks are also paired with Kenny. There's tension there. This is a very important match on the road to Wembley because I haven't figured out exactly how that match goes down, but I think whoever leaves Wembley with the world title is probably leaving as a heel as well, and I don't shy away from that being either Ospreay or Omega turning once we get to Wembley. But that's just my far off prediction for that. I think this match will be an absolute banger. I don't think the Young Bucks miss. I think they're trying to really put a final stamp on their careers, and they're having a lot of good matches. They're my favorite presentation of the Young Bucks right now, where it's just, who we are, we're wearing our traditional gear. They're not trying to be too cute or too character based with it. They're just being the Young Bucks, and ultimately, I think that's the best way to present them. Moxley's on a fun run with the Continental title, and Ospreay is still in the midst of recovering from surgery and finding this new wrestling style where maybe he's not, finishing people off with aerial moves, but rather he's more of a ground attack. He's got that submission finisher. I'm gonna suggest the Jacksons win here. I think maybe Nick pins Moxley, and there's the opportunity to do a one-off with Nick Jackson, John Moxley for the Continental title. Maybe Ospreay can win the match with a submission and then not break, and that kind of leads to some tension of like, hey, Will Ospreay is maybe getting a little too intense here. This one feels the most up in the air, but it also feels like it'll be a damn good match. And that's basically what you can say for any of these matches up and down the card. Now, I want to go back to some of the complaints or just the general vibe around AEW in my own friend circle. And I think AEW's fallen off a little in my friend circle, where while we all still love the show, I'm probably watching the most intently, whereas some of my other friends are just sort of feeling kind of blah about the product since Double or Nothing. And I think, again, that stems from the fatigue of doing more pay per views a year. There's not as much time to really rest and miss the long form AEW pay per view. But this is an important show to testing out that new schedule. I like that they're starting earlier. I like that there's a good chance I won't be still watching the show at 1 a.m., but I'm looking forward to the card, and whatever happens, it'll be a banger with at least one or two matches that will get the, nod of one of the best matches of the year kind of thing. And yeah, I think while it's not as highly sought after as next month's show in Wembley will be, it's really exciting whenever there's an AEW pay-per-view because you're going to get a solid in-ring product. But that's it for me. I will maybe be back with my thoughts on the show after it airs or after I watch it. I would encourage all of you to check out the Wrestling Apologist Substack, which is primarily where I try to give my thoughts on whatever I'm interested in on any given day in the world of wrestling. I have a really nice piece up there about Natalia and why I think her longevity matters. I have a short video and a long form write up on Substack about why I think Bayley needs to leave WWE. And I'm just trying to grow this channel and this new venture as best I can. This is just me, and I'm just trying to share my love of wrestling with the world in my own way. As many of you know, I've done the WrestleZone thing, I've done Fightful. I just want to be me. I just want to share my thoughts and my love of wrestling with other people who hopefully love it just as much. But thank you guys. You can check me out on social medias at Dude Felice, and I'll catch you guys later.